Hi, and welcome to A Window to Bourne. I'm your host, Mavis Robinson, and joining me today in the studio, I have a very special guest. I have the star and host of Up Front with Linda, BTV's own Linda Zuerne. Linda, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you for asking me.
And it's fun to have you here because you have your own show on Bourne Community Television called Up Front with Linda.
Right.
So folks can see you, I believe it's every other Wednesday, and then also on the website. But I think that, you know, you're always interviewing people, and we want to get behind the scenes and find out what you're all about.
And that's much easier than being in this seat.
Right. Well, you're on the hot seat now.
That's
so
right.
let's find out a little bit about who is Linda Zuerne. So did you grow up in Bourne? Were you born here in Bourne?
No, I was actually born in Oklahoma.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I lived there for 2 years, so I don't really remember anything. But my family moved to South Dakota after that.
Yeah.
So I lived there from the age of 2 to 9.
Okay.
My dad was a minister, so he wanted to go back to school and get his master's. So he and his friend came out to Andover Newton Theological School and brought their families with them. So we actually moved out here with another family.
Okay.
So we were living in Quincy
Yep.
at that time. So I went to Quincy High School and then Bridgewater State.
Yep.
And then later on I got my master's from Leslie College.
Okay.
And
Let me go back to your dad being a minister. That must be sort of an interesting lifestyle. Did you travel from parish to parish? How did that work for your family? Or would you be at one place for a long time?
Well, we were in one place the whole time we were in South Dakota.
Okay, yep.
And then in Quincy, we were in the Quincy Point Congregational Church the whole time I was in school.
Okay.
There, so.
Captain's very interested in that.
Yes, you are, huh?
So then, I mean, growing up as the minister's daughter, I mean, is there pressure to you know, make sure you're always on your best behavior? Were you aware of some sort of like added pressure to be a leader in your community?
Growing up, in South Dakota, we were in a very conservative area, and the minister's daughters were supposed to set an example.
Yeah.
So we could not play cards, or we couldn't go to the movies, or we couldn't, you know, act up or whatever. Because we had to set an example, and everyone would be talking about us if we didn't behave.
Yep.
So I remember begging my mother, I must have been about 8 years old, asking her if we could go see a Disney film at the local theater. And my sister was 2 years younger, so the two of us, she said we could go, but we were to look straight ahead, not talk to anybody, go in and watch the movie, come straight home and not tell anybody we were there.
Oh, wow.
So that's sort of what it was like at that time.
Do you remember what film it was?
Oh, it could have been like Snow White or Bambi or something like that. It was, you know,
so
a film everybody sees.
Right, and nothing scandalous. I mean,
no.
Right, something G-rated. And now, was the thought of like just, you know, you shouldn't be out and about, or that the films are somehow would have some sort of a negative message? What was the danger of going to the movies?
I don't. At that time, you just didn't do that.
Okay.
So all the other kids did.
Yeah. But you had to set the example.
That's right.
Yeah.
But then when we got together with other ministers' families, it was totally different.
Oh, what way?
So people would just party. They would drink beer, play cards.
Oh gosh! So it was like once you were with you could let your hair down. You could. Yeah. Oh wow.
So I learned from a very young age that there are two different ways of sort of acting. And when you're in this situation, you act one way, and when you're in that situation, you can just be yourself and have fun.
Yeah. Oh, that must have been kind of tricky to balance as a kid.
I guess. And a lot of kids would say, you know, what is it like to be a minister's daughter, especially out here in Quincy? And I would just say, well, I don't know. I've never had any other kind of father, so.
Right. Yeah. What's it like to do anything else? Yeah. So now, when you got to Quincy, when you got to Massachusetts, you know, sort of known to be much more liberal than South Dakota and Oklahoma. Did you notice that? Could you sense a change in the society's expectations?
A little bit. It was just a little different. They watched more what you wore to church.
Okay.
And how you dressed and things like that. Or sometimes I think I wore a long coat that went down to my ankles, and that wasn't in style yet.
Okay.
So somebody would call my mother up and say, I don't think that was appropriate for church.
Okay, okay,
So,
because it was out of style, not because it was immodest, right? Is that
yeah?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my sister was a little wilder than I was, and people would call up and say, "Did you know your sister was out on the boat? You know, did you know she was here? Did you know?"
Yeah.
So,
Oh wow.
yeah, that still sort of continued, but in a different sense.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. You know, we've talked to people on the show before about growing up in Bourne in these little villages and how that's what they would report. You know, you couldn't get away with doing anything in town because somebody always knew your parents and would call and report. And I would think that a larger city wouldn't have that, but it sounds like there was no escaping it.
No, and you always had the neighbors that watched you too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we were left alone a lot.
Yep. Yeah.
Even at a very young age. So
were you the oldest of your family?
Yeah.
Okay. And were you sort of in charge? Were you doing some caretaking was it just you and your sister?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But nowadays, you know, if you told somebody you were left alone at the age of 10 and you were watching your sister,
right.
You know, they'd say, oh, that was neglect or child abuse or whatever. But my parents would always let the neighbors know. We lived in an apartment building the first year, and she would always let them know if we were home alone. So we had somebody there sort of watching. So we always had neighbors watching us.
Yeah, yeah. So no playing cards, no going to the movies. What would a minister's daughter do for fun in Quincy growing up?
Okay, when we got to Quincy, those kinds of things were okay to do.
Okay, so that's
it's just more the way you dressed and the way you appeared, you know, in church and stuff like that. But outside of church, nobody really cared if you played cards and did all that other stuff.
Yep, yep. So I interrupted you before. You were kind of saying. So then you went to went to a religious school for high school, or did
no,
you
just
went
Quincy
to public
High School.
And then where did you go to school for college?
Bridgewater State.
Okay.
So I got my degree in education.
In education.
And
then did you go into a teaching degree, a teaching career?
I did. I did my student teaching down here in North Falmouth.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I ended up on the Cape.
That's how we got you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So after that, I just really liked it down here. Some of my other friends were here. So I just got a winter rental and stayed, and then just never left.
Yep.
So, and it's much different now than it was then.
What do you see as being different from when you first moved here?
There was a lot more open space. If you went down MacArthur Boulevard, it was pretty dark. There were no buildings, no businesses there, no traffic.
I remember, you know, even from my childhood, especially when you mentioned MacArthur Boulevard, because it felt like a lot of those businesses were cropping up in the 80s and early 90s, and it's such a trick as to whether that's we need the jobs, we need the business, we want to bring money into the town, but it is tough to miss those the beautiful green trees. You used to feel like you were kind of going down a country lane driving down MacArthur Boulevard. So now you kind of got involved in a leadership role in the town. Did you not?
I did, and I'm a very shy person, so the things that I've done in the past, I've sort of had to force myself to do. When I first moved here, it was Michael Bradley who knew me because I had tutored his kids, and I had them in school at the Cape Cod Academy. So he said, "What, would you like to be on the Board of Appeals? There's an opening, and maybe you could put your name in." And so I said, "Well, okay, what do I have to do?" And he said, "Oh, you just have to, read the information and go check the site and be objective. That's all." So I said, oh, okay, I can do that. So little did I know how much time and effort and how much reading you really had to do. Because it was one law after another. And, but I really liked it a lot.
Yeah. And what does the Board of Appeals cover? Is that sort of like any of the boards that make a decision? If people want to appeal it, it goes to that. So any town boards?
Yeah, all your 40B permits and other kinds of permits would go through the zoning board too.
Yeah.
So then the same thing happened with the school committee. Somebody said, oh, there's an opening. Why don't you just put your name in? And I said, okay, but I'm not going to talk. I'll just get on the board and vote and not, not really talk too much about issues and things like that. So I remember at one of the candidates' nights, I was speaking, my knees were actually shaking behind the podium. So I said, oh no, what am I doing here? And then I got on the board, and I think it was probably the second or third meeting when something popped up, but I didn't really agree with it. And I said, oh, wait a minute, that's not right. So after that, I just started talking. And I think through the years, just being on the Board of Selectmen, and now I'm on the Assembly of Delegates. I just figure I'm too old not to talk. So, my feeling is I could die of a stroke tomorrow, and then I didn't say what I should have said. I just say to people, what do you want to do? Keep that inside all this time, and not say anything when you should. So now I just say it, and I just say that's the way it is.
How long did you serve on the school board?
I believe it was one term, so it's probably 3 years.
And then what about the Board of Selectmen? What was that? That must have been another sort of knee-knocking, like having to run in front of the whole town. Had you already gotten over that sort of stage fright by the time you got to that point?
I was really busy with my own tutoring at that time, so I really didn't have time to do campaigning and stuff like that. So. People had approached me and said, just run and we will support you. We have a large group of people. We'll do everything for you. We have a secretary, we have a treasurer, we have this, we have that. All you have to do is run. Okay, well then after I put my name on the ballot, I found out I had to go talk to the firefighters, at 8 o'clock at night after I got out of work, and I had to talk to this group, and changed my tutoring schedule so my Saturday mornings were free, so I could go to the post office every Saturday, and then I went door to door. So,
oh gosh, talk about being an introvert and having to go door to door. That must have been
actually that was a lot of fun.
Really,
and for some reason I always enjoyed the campaigning. Because I think it was more one-on-one. And people would come up and just talk about what they thought the issues were. So I always found that very interesting. And sometimes people would invite me inside their door, their houses, to talk. Mostly elderly people. So the people that were with me, they'd probably be outside saying, oh my goodness, what is she doing in there? And I just talk to people for 20 minutes or so, and they say, oh, thank you so much for stopping by, and then I go on my way to the next person, next house. And
did you feel like you learned a lot about our town by touching base with those people? What kinds of things did you discover that maybe took you by surprise?
Oh, there were so many issues. There was one in Pocasset about beach rights, and I can't even remember too much of the details at that time, but I thought, well, that should be pretty easy to solve. And then we found out that a lot of these people had their own lawyers, so then we're having our town lawyer involved with 5 or 6 other lawyers. And by the time that was all solved, I think it was a year or so later.
Oh gosh,
So sometimes I would just take on those kinds of tasks because somebody approached me and said, this isn't right, or it had to do with fishing regulations or whatever. Things that I didn't really know about. But I thought, oh, well, that should be corrected.
And on the face, it might seem like, oh, this is a quick fix. And then, a year of research and work later.
So I found that out that in government, things take a long time, even at the local level. But I think that's probably a good thing.
Yes, yeah, because you don't want things to be able to change too quickly, because
Right.
It's sort of like it takes a little perspective to know what the right direction is, and not everybody agrees what the right direction is. Was there any issue that cropped up during your times of public service that you were particularly passionate about, personally?
Yeah, when they were going to bring people from South America into Otis, and I did stand out at the Otis Rotary in opposition to that. I got a lot of flack from people, even in the newspapers. They said I was a racist, and I should be more compassionate towards these people who are coming in. Well, the research I did showed that most of these people were not young children. They were older, teens maybe, into their 20s, even 30s, and most of them were men. They were coming from all kinds of areas. They weren't really vetted. So somebody, I think, even came to the meeting and said I was a racist. So I am even though I'm quiet, I'm a very stubborn person. So I thought, okay, you want to call me a racist, I'll just coordinate another standout, and we'll just do it at another Rotary. So we did. There was another person and I who did another one at the Bourne Rotary, and it was against illegal immigration.
And was this when you were serving on the select board?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now, to sort of be able to give an opportunity to answer those accusations, did you feel like you had a platform to answer that? I mean, what would you say? It's difficult when you're being accused of something, something difficult like racism or other negative attributes. How do you answer to that? How can you defend yourself?
You can't really. A lot of times they don't give you the opportunity to answer.
Right.
So, I just realized that is a ploy. That's a way of intimidating you. It's a way of getting you to stop what you're doing. So I guess my feeling was, well, you want to call me names, or you want to say I've done this or that, I'll just show you that you're not intimidating me, and I'll just continue doing what I want to do, or what I think is right.
That's a difficult one. I feel like a lot of the issues that seem to be cropping up in modern politics bring people to a passionate place where sometimes it dissolves into name calling, which feels like it's not really that helpful, because there really are important aspects to those issues that would be interesting to explore.
And if you do the research, you find out that is part of the plan. If you read the Communist Manifesto or the Holy Land Foundation papers, these go back to the 50s. And part of this is like the Saul Alinsky, I guess it's a way to how to have a revolution. You call people names until it kind of sticks and everybody's afraid to be near them, or it's just a strategy. So when people see that and they see the truth of it, then they can sort of say, oh, this person's just using this technique that they found in this book, and it doesn't really mean that the person's a racist or Islamophobic or anything else. And terms like that were actually made up for that reason, just to intimidate people.
Well, how do you counter that strategy? Do you have is there how do you, like, when things devolve into just you're a racist, you're you're the Antifa, you're the this, that, how what can we do to what's a good way for a civic-minded person to bring the discourse back to a reasonable level?
I think if people are willing to talk to each other, then you can could get through that. But a lot of people aren't even willing to talk, and that's what I find in the last few years, that we've actually been directed by our government to be against each other. You have kids against their parents, you have Republicans against Democrats, you have liberals against conservatives, and sometimes I'll start talking to somebody who's on the totally opposite side that I am, and say, well, okay, what do we agree on? Well, we agree on the Constitution, or we agree
Good starting
on
point.
this or that.
Yep.
And some don't even agree on that. They just say, you know, I don't follow the Constitution. I don't think it's important. So then it's really hard to find anything that you have in common. But if you start with that and say, okay, now, do you think that we should just open up our borders to anyone? And what happens when that when we do that? We no longer have a country. We don't have a sovereign country anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think
So you find, so bringing it down to common ground and then sort of asking questions to find where, you know, where there are points of reasonable debate. Yeah. Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
But people have to be willing to listen, you know, to each other to do that.
Well, right at the top of the show, I talked about how you're really one of the stars of Bourne Community Television. How did you get into to doing that? How long have you been doing your show, and how did that start for you?
I've been doing that since I was a selectman.
Okay.
And
So how many years?
Oh, my goodness. I don't know, probably 19 years already.
Wow, that's great.
Dick Anderson used to work here at Comcast Studio.
Yep.
And as part of the agreement, I think with Adelphia, he had to do a local show. So he said, how would you like to do a show? All you have to do is ask the questions and interview somebody.
Yeah.
And he said,
Just easy. All you have to do is do it right.
He said, I really need somebody to do the show. And I said, oh, okay. You know, so a lot of times I just say, okay, because people ask me, and then I realize how much work it is afterwards. But it's also been a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's how I started. And then it was, I forgot the name of the show that I used to have, all about Bourne, or it was something just things that had to do with Bourne.
Yes, yeah.
So recently, about a year or so ago, I wanted to get into other topics, and we were talking about radical Islam and sex trafficking and the Children's Cove and things like that that were not really in Bourne, but they affected Bourne in some way.
Yep.
So I changed the name to Upfront with Linda. Yep. So I could just have a broader audience and broader topics.
Okay, so this new show, really the focus has to do more with the broader political climate that rather than the Bourne-specific topics. Yeah.
And there are still some things that I do that are just in Bourne, like the Homeless for the Holidays. I just had guests on with that.
Yeah.
And they've expanded now to the whole Cape, but.
You know, I saw one of your shows, and I thought it was under the Upfront banner, but maybe it was a different show. But that you interviewed the folks who ran the Jenny Mill in Plymouth,
or the Jenny Museum.
The Jenny Museum, yes. Was that under the Upfront with Linda banner? Do you think?
I think so.
Okay.
It was one of the first ones, I think.
Yeah. I really loved it. I mean, I really, you know, I thought it was, you know, very interesting, and I loved how you sort of, you know, dug into this little piece of somewhat local history that I never knew about. You know, I never would have known about that museum, and I have since been in touch with them.
Oh, good.
You know, to sort of do some cross programming with the Bourne Historical Society. So,
good.
So just to take the sort of local topics, are there any that you can think back of over the last 19 years that were particularly inspiring or special, or that you enjoyed, that you would want to point out?
Oh my goodness. I can't think of one particular one right now, but they're all quite interesting. I usually choose people to be on my show because I have an interest in what they're doing to begin with.
Yep.
And then I always learn a lot from having them on the show or doing the you know, so the research before.
Yep.
So a couple of weeks ago, I had people from IFA on about whaling, I mean the whale stranding, and how they rescue animals and things like that, is something I really didn't know too much about.
Yep.
But I had seen their facility when I took a tour as an Assembly of Delegate member, and I thought, oh, that's pretty interesting. So usually it's just something that I see or something I've heard about, read. I do a lot of research on my own, and I'll say, oh, that would be good to have that person on the show. So I can't think of one particular one though that.
Well, I know for me, I love the one with the Jenny Museum. I'm interested, is IFA, what does that stand for?
Oh, don't ask me.
Is it just IFA though?
It was International, I can't remember.
Okay. But I mean, one thing that I do love about the way Bourne Community Television handles both of our shows is, if anybody is interested in looking in some of those, back issues or episodes, they can always get to it through the website. So, Bourne Community Television, and then you go to the local section, and then once you get to local, I think you can just do like a search for the title of the program. So, so old Windows programs will be under Windows, old Linda Zuerne programs will be under Upfront, and it really is a wealth of cool stuff about Bourne. I keep telling myself I have to do my homework and watch some more of your old episodes. Every now and then I'll catch one to inspire myself with my own interviewing. So,
well, one I just did recently was with Mark Allegro, and he's now chairman of a group called We the People, which is a Constitution class. And he had spoken at the class about slavery. And I thought that was quite interesting that he started off with slavery going way back, in the Bible days, and then, what it is now. And I ran into somebody at the community building, someone who's in her late 80s, and she said, that was so interesting. So it's nice to hear, people in the community say that they've actually watched it. And thought the show was good.
Well, so. I think I appreciate that you've, the local topics that you've addressed in the past, and that you're in this other direction with broader political topics, and bringing some, people from the community in to share their knowledge of that. And I know that I'm a personal fan of your show, so thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
And thanks so much for being here today. I really enjoyed talking to you. And I'd just like to tell our audience, if you want to check out more of Upfront with Linda, check out bournetv.com, click on local, view BTV 13, and then just search for Upfront with Linda. And you can also catch her on Wednesday evenings at 7:30. So every other Wednesday at 7:30, you'll get some interesting conversation with Linda and her guests. And thanks so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks for being with us today. We'll see you next time on A Window to Bourne.